Hello everyone. So I actually shouldn't be recording a video right now. I should be writing before my friend comes over to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Supernatural, but instead I decided to record a video simply because I came up with something today in regards to some of my characters that I just was really excited about and felt like talking about to people, especially since it incorporates dolls that were kind of in a drift state, and I want people to know, what will be happening to them in the future. Plus, I had recorded a update video on Monday that actually failed to upload. I'm not sure what was wrong with the video, but it failed to upload anyway, and I have since deleted it, so I will be putting those updates at the end just so you're aware of what's going on with me, though it's very little. Anyway, for starters, I am here today with my doll Chateau Douglas, who, if you last remember, he and my doll Chateau Queena were kind of kicked out of the story I had actually created because of them, and I was actually very upset about it. Like, I've been upset about it since this decision had been made in my brain, simply because I hate when dolls do not work out as planned. And I also hate I hate the fact that it seems like all the doll Chateau dolls I have bought just have been rejected from their storylines. Now, mind you, I have thought of other storylines for my doll Chateau Olivia and Pierre and everything, so they worked out, and they're hopefully about to work out. But it's such a sad feeling when you have bought dolls and created characters around these dolls and nothing works out the way you want it to, and they're just kind of sitting there. You're feeling kind of bad for it, like what should I do now? And then you think about selling them, and I didn't want to sell them, but I also just had nothing for them, and it was just making me more upset the more I looked at them. But today, randomly at work, I don't know what made me start thinking about them, but I did, and I started thinking about this storyline that I vaguely thought of a while ago, but I never really did anything with. Simply because, if you don't know, which you probably should by now because I mention it all the friggin' time, even though I don't mean to, I am obsessed with the show Supernatural, and I've been a big fan of it since the beginning, and currently it's my favorite show. And though we've been through some ups and downs, I just cannot get enough of it. And for a long while now, I've been wanting to incorporate the idea of demons in my story simply because of that show. And I know that's where it came from, but I never really went through with the idea in my head because I didn't want to just, I guess, like, steal demons from that show for my story. It just didn't feel right. So I never really went through with the whole thought process. But today, for some reason, it popped back into my head, and I came up with some ideas that I think he and my doll Chateau Queena will fit into quite nicely if I can make it work out. Basically, I did think of some sort of demon type entity for my story, and it was because of two things. One, because in my story there's like a big war at the end. And I'm not going to say over what and how it all turns out and everything, but it does happen. Everything leads up to it. And I always wondered who fought on the other side of this whole thing, because basically what they're fighting for is like something you would think that everyone would be on that side. Like, there'd be no fight. So I wanted to think of kind of like soldier type people for the other side. So I had that to overcome, and I think this will help me overcome that. And then the other thing, I always wondered in my story what happened when magic went wrong within someone, because all my characters, like my vampires, mages, fae, and werewolves are all magical based rather than disease based or anything like that. They are definitely, it's a magical thing. And I was like, well, what would happen if you tried to turn someone into a vampire and it didn't work? Or if someone was born a mage and they never really realized their power? And like, what would happen if they were bit by a werewolf? Because my werewolves are actually, they have to be born instead of it happening through a bite. So it's like, well, what would happen if one of these three things happen? Fae are a different subject altogether. They kind of have their own form of a demon type entities called Slua. But the rest, they kind of don't, and it's kind of like a new thing. There's not, I had always wondered, you know, what would happen? Would they just go crazy? Would they die? What, blah, blah, blah. And what I have decided is that they actually become sort of infected, and it kind of starts to eat them away inside, and they become what I have decided to call hollows. I don't know if that name is going to stick, but for right now that's what I thought of. And hollows are demon type creatures. They're basically, you know, they have this magic inside of them. It went horribly wrong, and it's just eating away at who they are. And it's kind of turning them into shells of who they were. And they can go any sorts of ways. I've decided there's like 3 main subsets. There's the ones where it basically they all go through the thing where they get, you know, hollowed out inside. Hence why I've been calling them hollows. And they feed off of life energy pretty much. And depending on how they feed and what they feed from, it shapes what kind of hollow they are. There's the ones who just, and this is like the major type people hear about, where they feed off so much negative energy of humanity in the world and everything that their eyes turn black, and they are just, for lack of a better word, evil. But it's just they fill themselves with so much negative goodness, I guess, that there's just nothing good in them left, because everything else had been just taken out of them. So that's the most common type that the others would hear about. Then there's the ones who have white eyes, and the ones who have white eyes, they actually fought against all the negative energy you can eat, and decided to feast or eat what they could of good energy. But the problem is that good energy in the world such as it is now, it's hard to come by. So there's not a lot of those, and it's hard to fight against eating the negative energy because it's so plentiful. And so there's not many of those at all. Then you have the ones with gray eyes. And the ones with gray eyes are actually people who, they eat off both, so that's why they have gray eyes. And they're trying to, most of the ones that have gray eyes are trying to fight not to eat the negative energy. They're trying very, very hard, and it's not really working out. So sometimes they'll have some of that, and then they'll go, no, 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 don't do that. And they'll try to, you know, eat off the positive energy of the world, but it is really hard to do that. There is just so little of it. And they also still have this consciousness in them. Most of the people, most of the hollows that do this are younger. They haven't adapted yet one way or the other, and they still have a sense, even if it's tiny, of humanity and not wanting to become a horrible kind of monster. So that's what I've thought for now, and I have determined that my boy here and my doll Chateau Queena, they are hollows, and they were going to be turned into vampires, but it just went wrong. I'm trying to figure out how. It's probably because they were sick. He in my head has always been a sickly boy, and because of that, he really should not have been turned. You don't want to turn anyone too sick if you can help it. It causes problems. It has caused problems in the past, but in this case I think it just went completely wrong. And so I am trying to determine which kind of hollows they would be. I'm thinking right now they will have gray eyes because they are still young, and they were, you know, they were children when, or young teens I should say, when this happened. And so they're trying to still retain who they were because, you know, they have a better grasp on it, but it's really hard for them, and they're trying day by day to figure it out. And I don't know, when I thought of that at work, I got super duper stupid excited, and in my head it just refreshed them as dolls and refreshed them as characters, and I kind of want to explore it and hope for the best, because I love these dolls so absolutely. I love them. I love just looking at them. I love their faces. Like, his face is so friggin' adorable. I love their bodies. They're so cool. And having them sit there with no characters and just no, like, inspiration for them was really, really just dragging at my heart, which I know sounds really dramatic, but it's true. I just was not liking it. And in coming up with this, I feel really super excited about them again, and I kind of want to get them different clothes. I need to redo their face up so they look more like what I have in my head, though what I have in my head, I'm not sure is exactly how I want hollows to look. I'm trying to figure out if I want hollows to be like, if they're able to merge in with society. Because, like, you know, we can wear sunglasses now to cover our eyes, and contacts and all that blah blah blah. So I'm wondering, should they be able to merge into society, or should they be like creatures or anything like that? So I'm trying to figure that part out, but I'm kind of thinking that in every other aspect, they are like my vampires, mages, and fae, and werewolves. They can be in society, they can have jobs, they can have this and that and the other, but they are just, they're hollow, and some of them are really horrible, and some of them are really good, and I don't know. I'm still trying to form the idea. I'm just very excited about it, and I've also decided that my Soom Dia boy, my tan Soom Dia boy, is actually the leader of the hollows, because all of my, you know, subsets have leaders. Like, they have, like, either, in the case of the vampires, they have multiple leaders, but there's the one that's overall, that was, he was the first vampire, and then with werewolves the same. With mages, it actually changes from time to time, because mages eventually die off. They live for a very, very, very long time, but sometimes the magic will just degrade from their bodies, and they turn into elders, and then they eventually pass away. So those can change from time to time. And then with fae, same thing. They go through what the mages go through, essentially, and just eventually over time, in the case of the fae, they actually, the world gets to them, banality gets to them, and they will die off, though they live for a very, very long time. So in that case, that also changes from time to time. It just depends on how strong you are inside for them. So I think for the hollows, I definitely want there to be some sort of leader, maybe the first of them all. And I decided it was him simply because, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a Soomsard, and my Soomsard and my Soom Dia boy are connected. They're actually technically the same person. It's very weird to explain, but they're technically the same person. And I could always imagine that when my Sard came to Earth and became my soon-dear boy, something went wrong and he just accidentally became a hollow. And it was very kind of accidental, but he was the first of them, and he kind of collects the others as he sees them. He's able to detect them and everything. But that's just the beginning of a thought at the moment. I'm not actually, that's not an official thing as of right now. But yeah, so that is the update on that. Just something exciting I wanted to share. Well, it's exciting to me. I know there's probably others who are like, oh my God, what the hell? But I don't really, I notice that I don't share as much about like characters in my story and all that as I would like and as other people do. And I love those videos from other people. I love just like listening about characters and backstories and that whole thing. And so I just wanted to share. So hopefully that's okay. Now what I'm actually going to do, since this video was much longer than I intended it to do, I'm going to actually cut this one off and make a update video that's probably going to be pretty short at this point because I really don't have a lot going on. But I will say bye for now. Thank you so much if you watched this video, and sorry for the length. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm sorry. So I'll talk to you guys later, and thank you so much if you watched. Bye.